our app lets you go through 100 different foods that we have in the app. You can actually filter the plants by health benefit. So if you scroll this list here, you can see all these different health things, and we have diabetes. If you have diabetes, you can tap on that and it shows you all of the plants that help with diabetes. So this is a good way to get started with growing. If you're not sure what you should grow, then this kind of gives you a good starting point for it. So once you choose what you want to grow, I'm going to go to something that's actually in season right now. Let's go to spinach, and we'll kind of talk about how everything works from there. So once you decide what you want to grow, you can tap on it. And now you're going to see a bit of a quick explanation of why we think spinach is cool, is basically what that is. And then we have the planting dates here. So these are calculated based on your nearest weather station. We hook into all the weather station data across the US, and we find the one that's closest to you. And then we find the last 100 years of data for that weather station and use it to calculate what the highest probability of freeze date is for where you live. And then we calculate all the dates based off of that for both the spring and the fall. So these dates, again, adjust for anywhere you are in the country. It doesn't work worldwide yet, but our goal is to get there eventually to where it works anywhere in the world. We just don't have the data for the rest of the world yet. So it also shows you what season the plant grows well in. So every plant likes different conditions. So spinach loves the cool weather. It does not like the heat at all. So this gives you kind of an idea of that. But we have other features that make that a lot easier. So we'll get to that here in a second. Square foot gardening. So number per square, that means how many seeds that plant goes per square. And there's a device that makes this whole thing easy right here called the seeding square. And this is like a little template. So you lay it down in your garden, and then you follow the color coding of number per square, and it makes it easy to have it all in a pattern, if that matters to you, and it really does to me. Okay, so time to harvest. This shows you how long that plant usually takes to go from the time it sprouts until the time you can harvest it. We have a new version of the app that's in testing right now. If you want to try it out, send us an email or email us through the app, and you can get a test version. But it lets you log that you've planted something, and then once you mark that you've logged it, it starts giving you things like how long, like it'll estimate when the harvest will be, estimate when the seed sprouting will be. It takes the thinking out of it, and it helps guide you through it all. So again, that's in testing now. We're looking for people to test it, and we're going to be releasing it throughout the spring. Sun requirements. So every plant has different requirements for sun. That's self-explanatory. So it goes from full sun to full shade, basically. I will say full sun in Oklahoma means sun until 3 p.m. After that, it's just torture for the plant. So they're going to get plenty of sun in the summer until 3 p.m. And then part shade, full shade, that's obviously full shade. So every plant kind of has a range, and that range changes depending on the season. So for spinach, it loves full sun in the spring, but once it gets into the summer, it will like some shade in the afternoon. So again, that's a great reason that you can to use the smart pots, because you can start them out in full sun in the spring, and then you can move them over to the side of your house to get shade in the afternoon once it starts getting hot. So that's another good reason to use those. Watering, every plant has different requirements for how much it likes to be watered. So spinach likes to have water a lot, whereas peppers and tomatoes don't need as much water as spinach. So every plant is different, and this helps guide you through that. It's the same with fertilizer. Every plant is different. So let's talk. So when you're planting seeds, first of all, not every plant likes to be planted let me explain this. So the best way I can explain this, not every plant can be started by seed in Oklahoma. So peppers and tomatoes could technically start them by seed in April, but by the time you're starting to get fruit from it, it's going to be too hot for it to produce tomatoes. You're not going to have any tomatoes until like September. So most people start peppers and tomatoes and even broccoli and cabbage indoors. That way it gets a head start on the season before before it starts to get hot, and you can get it out, and then it's already a decent size. So this kind of guides you on what that plant likes. So some plants do not like to be transplanted ever, and like carrots and root crops are some of those too. Mostly root crops, and you just gotta think about it. A carrot, it's growing a taproot. Once you disturb that, it's not gonna be happy. So this tells you how deep you plant the seed. how many days it takes for it to sprout. Again, this is where Garden Plus is going to make this easier because it's going to tell you when to estimate that when that seed is supposed to sprout, and it'll help help guide you along there. We have other information here. The family is important because you need to know if you're doing companion planting, then it's important to not put things of the same family next to each other. So instead of you having to keep track of each family, we have the information there, but this Friends tab really makes this easy. So this shows you all of the plants that grow well next to spinach. And then this tab shows you all the plants that do not grow well next to spinach. So this makes it easy to go through and map out your garden. And we're planning on having features in the future that let you actually draw out your garden, and it's going to use this data to recommend like what should go around everything. So if I go to this types tab, this shows you all the different varieties that we have. We have an integration with Burpee where we pull in from their database. And you can see we haven't talked about pests yet, so let's talk about that because that's going to be a problem too when you start growing. Each plant has its own set of pests that like that, and this tab makes it easy to know what they are because it shows you the most common pests for each plant. And if you tap on the pests, it'll show you how to handle it with organic treatment methods. So we don't use any chemicals in our garden. We're trying to hack our way through this. Like what I mean by that is for aphids, we're buying ladybugs on Amazon and we're releasing them into our garden. Now the key there is you release them at night because they only fly during the day. So if you just release them during the day, a lot of them are going to fly away. But if you release them at night and have plenty of water for them and food for them, which the aphids are their food, then they're going to set up shop and you're going to have these little, hold on, let me show you all what ladybug babies look like because they are intense. Look at these things, like little alligators. If you see those in your garden, they're awesome. Don't get rid of them. These are ladybug babies and they will eat like insane, like 5,000 aphids in their lifetime. So they eat a crazy amount of aphids. And this is the kind of thing we do with our garden is trying to encourage the good bugs. So we have this whole section in the app under this critters tab for beneficials that shows you all of the good things that you want to look for in your garden. And it also shows you how to attract them, how to manage them, because cats are a good thing, but they can be a bad thing. So how do you manage them, So all that kind of information is in here, as well as all of the pests here that are in the app. So soon. So let's go ahead and do this filter here. So if you filter by can be planted, this shows you all the stuff that can be planted right now. So as of right now, technically, you're only supposed to be starting stuff indoors, but I like to cheat and I like to start stuff early, and it's 70 degrees outside like a couple of days ago. So I'm trying spinach and kale and lettuce pretty much from now. I'm trying new rounds of it every week until I hit like mid-March or April when it starts to get too hot. So I'm starting that as soon as Monday. I'm gonna decompress from the show and go spend all day in my garden planting everything, that's what I'm doing Monday. So now's the time to start doing that kind of stuff. I'm gonna filter to cool season because this will show everything that's kind of in the cool season. And